He does his civic duty as a naturalized citizen better than many born here. What a great statement. So we're talking about Elon Musk. And we're talking about the majority of naturalized citizens, of which I am. I was born in another country. I was born in Ireland. I came here in 1980 and I became an American citizen. So that quote came from a post that I had done on X this morning. And as is no secret, I am a big fan of Elon Musk for many, many, many reasons. And you know that if you've watched any of my videos. But this morning I put up a post and I said, tell me one reason why you like Elon Musk. And that was the answer I got. And I thought, what a great answer. And it's true of most people. You know, from the time I got to this country, and let's get something straight here. I'm not knocking Americans as a whole, but you have to call people out. And I call people out in my own country every day because they say stupid things and they do stupid things. And many times they're saying stupid things about America, and I don't like it. I don't like it because I love America. It's been very good to me. But when people say stupid things, you have to call them out. And there are a lot of people on YouTube now who are constantly bashing America. That's because they don't know any better. They were basically born and raised with a silver spoon. Many of them are spoiled, entitled, and what's funny is they don't even know they are. They actually don't have a clue. This is why groups of immigrants come to this country, and this has been happening since the beginning of time. They get here, they come from places usually where there's nothing, and they look around and they say, wow, I mean, there is nothing I can't achieve here. Nothing. All I have to do is work, pay attention, save my money, don't get wrapped up in the buying this and buying that and, you know, keeping up with the Joneses and buying the designer clothes and doing this over here and doing that over there, squandering my money on useless things. You know, you don't have to be a church mouse. You don't have to be perfect. I mean, I'm living proof. I mean, I screwed around for years, have a party and having a good time. And there was still time for me to get my act together and get some investments and get some savings and secure a financial future for myself. So you're even allowed to screw up for a lot of years in America and still come back and claw your way up to the top. Now, what is the top? I think the top for me is, you know, basically being debt-free, owning my own home outright, you know, having some investments, you know, blah, 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 blah. But the top can be anything. The top can actually be not owning anything, but having living expenses that are so low that you're not worried about a whole hell of a lot. So then what's the bottom? Well, the bottom is sometimes conveyed by people who actually have too much. You know, most people that make these YouTube videos who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, even some of them, they're talking about how terrible things are and how nobody has any money and nobody's doing this, nobody's doing that. And I'm watching them. Some of the guys are sitting in cars, Some of them are in their homes. Some of them are walking through their neighborhood. Let me tell you something. These cars are really nice that they're sitting in. Because I know cars. I can sit in watch a YouTube video, and I can watch a guy sitting like me right now in a car, and I can tell you very quickly what car he or she is sitting in. And I guarantee you I can watch the streets that they're walking down if they're making YouTube videos like that. And I can tell you the average price of the houses on those streets. If they're in their homes, I can pretty much tell you based on their surroundings. I can even tell by the molding, by the door. If there's a door in the picture, if there's crown molding in the picture, I can tell the type of home they're in. Most of these people, I really mean this, and I'm sorry, I know you're going to hate me in the comments. Most of these people are living way beyond their means. And they don't own any of that stuff that they're sitting in, the neighborhood they're walking in, or the house that they're living in. The clothes they're wearing. The nice Apple Watch. It cracks me up. It cracks me up watching these people talking about how people are suffering. Now, they're not suffering, some of them. Some of them are, genuinely. But, of course, there's money in fear. You know that just from watching the evening news. Or watching any media, basically. You know, catastrophe gets clicks. Sadness gets clicks. Death gets clicks. You know how all that started, by the way? All that started because of a live car chase in Los Angeles, California. Like something like 30 years ago, 35 years ago. And I'm not talking about O.J. Simpson. That's not what I'm talking about. There was a news helicopter who was flying around, and he just happened to catch a car chase, and they went live and they broadcast it. The ratings just shot through the roof. And they realized in that moment, wait, there's money in this. There's money in pain. There's money in showing crime. There's money in showing devastation or wildfires. That's why every day you turn on the news, there wasn't just a storm somewhere. It was catastrophic. Catastrophic. So now you have people making YouTube videos about how bad America is and how broke Americans are and how everything is bad and everybody's losing job. And yet, most of them are living beyond their means. And then you have the same people who look at a guy like Elon Musk, who's not American. He came here, his mother brought him here because his mother was beaten and abused, and so was he. And she finally clawed her way to the United States. And her son finally got his citizenship. And look at where he is today. And people are saying, oh, what does he know? He's a billionaire, spoon-fed. Let me tell you something. He got nothing. Nothing for nothing. And I find it laughable that Americans born and raised here have the guts to put their face in front of a YouTube camera and call him the bad guy. Wake up, for Christ's sake. What the hell is wrong with you? I've listened to that all my life. I listen to it to this day. You know, I own a couple of businesses. I've done a couple of things. And I have people come to me now and they're like, wow, you did good. Yeah, they weren't there when I wasn't doing good. They weren't there when I was taking the chances. They weren't there when I was sitting there looking at my finances and thinking, I'm going to be bankrupt. I remember my first restaurant that I owned. Back then I had a partner and I bought out my partner. And I had somebody co-sign a loan in order for me to do that. I'll never forget that. as long as I live. Without that person, I would have had nothing. And what was weird was the day I got the financing, I walked out the door of that bank and I looked at the check that I was about to purchase. Way too much money I was paying to own the business outright, 100%. And I looked at the check and I thought to myself, I'll be bankrupt probably within a year. There's no way I can pay this off. But I did. And I was there morning, noon, and night. And actually, for a long time, I lived off the share, the split that was coming in from the pool table. I was basically living in, you couldn't even call it a shed. I was living in, a shed is a compliment at the time. I had an old beat up piece of shit car. And I was in the restaurant all the time. So it wasn't like I needed a big screen color TV or a computer or anything else. There wasn't any computers back then, but I didn't need much because I was in the restaurant all the time and I could eat there. And if I wanted to have a few beers, I could do that. And it was also my social life. I had an old beat up car that would get me from, I had a Fiero. What a piece of crap that was. But that would get me from the business to home and back. And then I clawed my way through that, wiping up puke in the bathrooms at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I had people around me. I had great people. Some of them were friends. A couple of them were employees. They're still my best friends to this day. I never forgot those people. And they were along for the ride. And man, what a ride we had. None of these people know I have a YouTube channel, by the way. Someday they'll see this video. I do know that. But I clawed my way up, and then I got my first house. Sorry about the buzzing noise. I turned off the AC there for a minute, and it's kind of hot today. But the first house I ever owned, I paid $50,000 for it. And I'm not exaggerating when I tell you this. It was a roof, 4 walls. The inside was gutted. It had no inner doors. It was 2x4s, and I bought it off HUD. It was basically a government house. Some guy had bought it. They gave him a HUD loan. He got sick, and he actually didn't get sick. He had major addiction issues, and he ended up losing everything. And I 50 grand or whatever it was, I paid for it. And I remember people laughed at me at the time. And then I got a couple of friends again, Stephen and a couple of guys, and they came in and they hung some sheetrock and slapped in a couple of doors. And I started there. I know I'm talking about me, and I didn't want to talk about me in this video, but I'm trying to set up the picture for you. You know, constantly immigrants come over to this country, start with nothing, and end up with it all. There's actually an Irish song. We started with nothing and wound up with it all. We worked on the subways, we ran the saloons, we built all the bridges, we played all the tunes. We started with nothing and wound up with it all. Well, so did Elon Musk. So, the next time you listen to somebody who's telling you about how bad things are here, look carefully at what they think they own, because they probably don't own it. And if you want to be successful in America, it's not even like, you know, the old thing, work hard, work hard. It's fine. Working hard is obviously very important. Even if you're not working hard, just stop spending hard. Stop wanting things you can't afford. Stop looking at the guy or the girl next to you and thinking, well, they have that, I should have that too. And then you go on Amazon or you go wherever and you see it and you're like, well, I can afford $100 a month. And even worse now, I can afford $20 a week and do these, what do they call that stuff? The buy now, pay later. Stop doing that stuff, man. Stop doing it. Stop doing it to yourself. Stop doing it to your family if you have a family. If you have a family and you're doing that, you're a piece of garbage. I'm sorry. And stop bashing America. I know it has its problems. I know we should have better health care. We should have a better education system, which that's a whole other thing. The college thing, what a racket. What a racket. I saw a story this morning. They're saying that college loan delinquencies are skyrocketing. Of course they are. You know why they're skyrocketing? They're like car loans right now. Well, I bought a car for $100,000. I figured it would be worth $100,000. Now the car is worth $50,000, and you're looking at the car payment going, well, I still owe $75 on the loan. You know what? Take it back. Well, the same thing is happening with college. They told you, oh no, 50 grand a year. You'll be here for 4 years. You get a big degree. When you leave college, you'll make 100 grand a year. No big deal. You can pay off your loans in 3 years. Problem is, you paid that 200 grand. Now you're making 30 grand a year. Or you're working at McDonald's. They lied to you. And you're doing the same thing. You're looking at the college loan and you're going, well, why am I paying for college? I don't even have a job. The only difference is you will pay that college loan because that's attached to you for life. You know why? Because the government sanctioned it. The government says, here, take the loan. It's 1%. Don't worry about it. But we own you now. And wherever you work for the rest of your life, we will follow you. We will track you down. We will garnish your wages. And we guarantee you that you will own nothing until you pay that loan back to us. You want to talk about being ripped off? Meanwhile, the immigrant went and became a plumber or a carpenter or an electrician or started a landscaping business or started a house cleaning business or started a dog sitting business. Pick one. Pick one. They actually started out ahead of you. They came here with nothing, had no leg up, and they started ahead of you. You probably would have been better off had your parents been dirt poor, because they wouldn't have had the ability to send you to college. They wouldn't have had the ability to buy you your first car. They wouldn't have had the ability to raise you in this illusion that this house you lived in as a kid was paid for, that the beautiful cars you drove were paid for, that the vacations were paid for. Maybe you would have been better off if you were dirt poor on the streets. You know, the percentage of people that come from poverty and become successful is much higher than the people who grow up in middle-class families. They have a much higher success rate in their life. Think about that for a minute. So if you're sitting there watching YouTube channels and they're telling you that the American dream is dead and we can't afford this and we can't afford that and I'm getting out of here, I'm going to another country, well, you know what? You go buy a ticket as well and you follow them. The immigrants are staying here, the ones that are allowed to stay here. That's a whole other subject. But they're not going anywhere. Because you know why? They were somewhere else. They know that it ain't all that. Thanks for watching.